Our first speaker is Paul Bowers.
I'm here to deliver a petition that is sponsored by ACLU of South Carolina, Charleston People's Budget Coalition, Low Country Action Committee, Low Country Black and Latina Coalition, the Black Liberation Fund, and Charleston Democratic Socialists of America, where I serve as the unpaid communications secretary. We've collected a little over 400 signatures in under 2 weeks, largely from North Charleston and the surrounding areas. The people do not want the thing that you just passed in the budget. Plain and simple.
Well, let me say this. We all voted on this. This passed. And I think everybody up here realized that we got to do something. And I don't think this body here is going to be weak-kneed, teary-eyed, and to anybody coming, pushing it down our throat. The police department made a trip, and they saw what they have in North Carolina, and I stand. We got to do something. And Mr. Bowers, I'm sorry you don't like this, but you know they vented this pretty good, and I think everybody here stand behind their vote. And I can tell you right now, this ain't gonna be overturned. So whatever that means to you. Thank you for your time and service.
Marcus McDonald.
My name is Marcus McDonald. I'm lead organizer of Charleston Black Lives Matter, and I'm a part-time substitute teacher in Charleston County. I'm here to speak for a budget that invests in youth services, employment, and workforce housing for the Black and Latino community, the displaced, the disabled, formerly incarcerated, victims of gun violence, and all in North Charleston. And I'm here to speak for the improved implementation of the Racial Bias Audit and Community Oversight Board with subpoena powers. I'm here to speak against the JOC and additional surveillance and any suggestions by the Mayor Sumner to enact stop and frisk tactics by NCPD. I might not be the smartest person in the room, but I do my research, and I don't speak on anything unless I know about it. And I'm going to speak on this because I'm a 25-year-old black man with some lived experience. On a personal level, the first time I was ever racially profiled at the age of 14 was by police after they saw me on camera doing a handoff when I was just dapping up my friend. When they searched me and they said they couldn't find anything, they said that, oh, well, you know what clothes you're wearing, you know where you're from, and that was his excuse, and he kept it pushing. And I've had to live with that trauma. And that's a real story from a camera that he said that he saw me do something illegal. And I'm also going to say this. I'm also a young black man who has lost too many close friends, classmates, and mentors to violence. So stop telling me about gun violence like it's something I'm unfamiliar with. Please stop telling me that. And the cameras won't intercept a bullet or save lives. We saw it happen on the east side in Memorial Day. We saw that. It ain't going to intercept a bullet. The cameras nor the police were able to stop those people from being hurt. One of them was one of my former students. So stop trying to act like we're not associated with these issues. And let's also stop trying to act like the city of Charleston and North Charleston are two different countries. We have students and parents who work and live in both areas. So that's why I'm speaking on this. And I don't want to... And I also want to comment on this. We see so many times on the videos of the police passing out gift cards and different candies that the NCPD audit showed that they don't even believe in community policing. So please stop showing that real. It's a whole bunch of cap. Also, in closing, I'm urging the city of North Charleston to work to invest in youth and social services and a youth entertainment club where the youth can be youth and enjoy themselves instead of penalizing them all the time. Anyways, and I strongly urge against any stop and frisk tactics suggested by the mayor. Y'all do enough frisking as it is. Thank you.
Nick Rubin.
What the city council just passed is going to give the police department surveillance state. Cameras across the city that can record and track the comings and goings of everyone in the city. I and everyone else in this room share the same desire to live in a safe city, one where violent crime is rare or non-existent. This system does not move us in that direction. The evidence could not be clearer. Mass surveillance does not deter crime. The information presented to council during the Finance Committee meeting clearly stated that Myrtle Beach and Charlotte, there was, quote, no significant or only a slight reduction in crime after the installation of similar systems. The statistics cited by the RAND Corporation study included in the finance report are misleading. The 40% reduction in shootings was for 1 year. 2017. The next year, there was a 28% increase. The year after that, there was a 10% decrease. The year after that, there was a 70% increase. If you choose your own data, you can tell whatever story you want. And that's the crux of the issue here. The city is planning to give the police department a system without accountability, without transparency, and without oversight. To those that say we will fight for this later, I'm sorry, but with all due respect, that is not how this has to go. You do not give someone a dangerous tool and then trust that they're going to use it responsibly. You set up the rules, the guidelines before you give it to them. I would direct everyone to the city of Myrtle Beach, who installed a similar system around 2016. At 2019, they still had not set up any oversight for that system. That might be different now, but you know what? That's not public information, so no one knows. Who gets to see this information? Is it just the police? Do defense attorneys get to see it? Does the public? How long is that information stored? These are not questions that you can just wave away. They demand answers, and without them, you giving a police department with a documented discriminatory practices per that racial bias audit, you're not just giving them a tool, but a weapon that can, in other cities, has been used against communities of color and activists, and one that, once given, can't easily be taken away. There are better options and actual solutions that will do more to stop violent crime. This money isn't the police department's, it's ours. And we are imploring you, maybe a little late, apparently, to spend our money on making our city more justice. Justice does not look like a jail cell in a city at the highest eviction rate in the country. Surely the people in this room can imagine a better use of this money. And I ask anyone in this room who's against surveillance, who's against the job, to please stand up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kimberly Clark.
I'm here representing the Charleston People's Budget Coalition as well as Low Country Action Committee. The Charleston People's Budget Coalition acknowledges that there are members of the North Charleston community who are in support of the Mass Surveillance Joint Operations Center initiative because they sincerely want to see an end to gun violence and crime in their communities. However, it is our belief that this is not a substantive solution and that if our communities were presented with other options, they would choose them. The narrative being put forth by the local government is that increasing policing and surveillance makes our communities safer, but we know that is not the case. Law enforcement budgets have steadily increased over the years, and this has done nothing to curb crime. The city of North Charleston allocates a third of its budget to law enforcement, and rather than reduce crime, according to the North Charleston Police Department racial bias audit, NCPD officers are using our tax dollars to disproportionately stop, interrogate, arrest, use force against Black residents at substantially higher rates than their presence in the North Charleston population. The JOC will only exacerbate these disparities without reducing crime based on evidence from cities across the country that have implemented similar initiatives. Our communities are being aggressively gentrified and under-resourced. We are in an affordable housing crisis, and North Charleston is the eviction capital of America. We have little to no access to healthy foods, our communities are polluted, our infrastructure is old and outdated, our schools aren't meeting the needs of the children, and we aren't being paid living wages. We are forced into socioeconomic situations where our youth see little option but to fight over the scraps the city throws our way. We often don't understand the connection between our current living conditions and our history of slavery, racism, Jim Crow segregation, mass incarceration, the war on drugs, and ethnic cleansing. Unfortunately, the local government presents us with very few alternatives other than increased policing and surveillance to solve problems the government itself has created from centuries of neglect. As a coalition, we know that investing in life-affirming services creates safer communities. Our youth need access to quality education, culturally relevant curriculum, after-school and summer school programs, community and recreational centers, job training and employment opportunities, healthcare, and living wages. Therefore, we suggest allocating the $2.5 million of our tax dollars that have been proposed for the JOC to go toward partnering with local training schools to provide scholarships instead. Rather than create additional pipelines to prison, the city of North Charleston should make it easy and accessible for our youth to enroll in vocational training and barbering, forklift operating, welding, commercial transportation, et cetera, and to provide housing stipends so our youth can live and eat while they work toward a trade. This is not the only solution, but this is one we believe will have a positive impact. We truly believe that if our communities were presented with these types of alternatives, we would not consent to mass surveillance. I understand, but I hope I gave you at least one additional idea or solution other than the JOC. At least one.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and Council, good evening. Everyone, good evening. I'm Pastor Thomas Dixon. First thing, let me start by saying, as far as pretext stops, we don't need them. I want to make that perfectly clear. We don't need to go back into that era. Oversight of the surveillance system, absolutely, and that needs to be in place prior to the implementation of the surveillance system. On a comment that was made earlier about associates that support the position that they don't want the camera systems, two names were used that do not support what they're saying. That's the Low Country Black and Latino Coalition. I talked to their founders. They knew nothing about their names being mentioned in this. And also the Black Liberation Fund. They did not say they wanted their names mentioned in this. Okay, so let's be honest and upfront. You had your chance. You had your chance.
May I ask, we keep order in the
You will
chamber.
not, did not disturb any of you when you were speaking. You will not disturb him while he's speaking.
Mm-hmm. And as far as people who step up only when the police are involved, after Walter Scott and whatever, instead of stepping up when people are dying in the streets, especially black bodies in the streets, I have a problem with that. I have a definite problem with that. The people that are here that are speaking up right now, over the last 3 years, we've had 100 gun-related homicides in North Charleston. I ain't seen none of them. Over the last 10 years, we've had 300 gun-related homicides in North Charleston. I ain't seen none of them. None of them. Not at a balloon release, not at a prayer vigil, not at a funeral service, not holding a parent's hand, not at a grave site. I ain't seen none of them. But now all of a sudden they care because the police involved. That's an agenda. As far as the camera surveillance system, and I appreciate the fact that it's already passed. And please, let's not waffle, okay? Let's stay the course. But in 2014, January 1st, a mother, 52-year-old mother, was shot to death that morning. Thank you. Was shot to death that morning over in the Wayland. And 5 months later, they arrested the person who shot her. Had there been a surveillance system in place right then that would have pinpointed that with a joint operations center, watching what was happening right then, that arrest would have happened much sooner. Pepper Hill, there still hasn't been an arrest there. 45 days later, and there still hasn't been an arrest there. If there would have been a surveillance system in place right there that saw the vehicles leaving, that saw the people that could track them, that could direct law enforcement where they needed to go. All right. In closing, because I'm definitely over, and please, my apologies to everyone and to this council, but please, let's not go toward policy or procedure and overlook the blood that's in the street. If we do that, we aren't our brothers or our sisters' keepers, and these people can get as loud as they want. They still ain't been there.
Mayor, can I be heard? Mayor, can I be heard?
Wrong.
No. Mayor, I want to be heard. Listen. We got a decorum here, and we got to respect each other. When somebody's talking, and Chief, this is your area. We got to respect each other. This is city council. This is government. We're here to govern. And if they're gonna make outbursts in here, they need to be escorted out this chamber. I don't care who it is. We should have orderly in here. And what I heard from the other side coming up, not one person disrupt y'all. And I ask y'all to do the same thing. This not a fight. You want to fight? Go to Vegas. That's where they get paid to fight at. This ain't a fight. This is where people get to come to the microphone, share their views, and be respectful. I just ask y'all to be respectful tonight. Just be respectful. We can disagree all we want, but just be respectful to the other side. They got a right to view their opinions just like everybody else. Just be respectful.
Elvin Spates.
I want to say this from people in my community who I live with, who I talk to, because I haven't seen any of these people in my community, right? I do handle vigils, I'm an activist, I'm in these schools, and when I'm there and we're fighting the violence and injustice, I don't see any of these people in there with us. But now all of a sudden, when we want something to make it better for us and safer in our neighborhoods, now all of a sudden they got a problem. There's cameras all over Folly Beach. I wonder if they protest that. There's cameras in Mount Pleasant, there's cameras on Isle of Palms, there's cameras on Wild Dunes. I wonder if they protested that. Why can't we have it? Let me tell you, I'm helping a family right now where their 4-year-old boy got hit in the street. He got hit on Dorchester Manor. The car turned on Ashley Phosphate, and that's the last thing we know. The only reason why we even have a description of the car and what happened to this young man is because of Ring cameras in the neighborhood. Imagine what we could have did if we had cameras on Ashley Phosphate to track this man who left this little boy in the street for dead. I want to know that little boy is still in the street right now, is still in the hospital right now, ICU fighting for his life. If we had cameras, I'd be able to tell this family more than, I'm sorry, this happened to you. I'd be able to go call the chief. I'd be able to call Gomes Alderman and say, look, this is what we're looking for. Y'all would have these answers. We had 21 unsolved murders in 2021. I didn't see anyone get up here and speak about that. No one's talking about that. But see, the activists like myself, like Dixon, and there's other activists sitting next to me, we get those phone calls from the family. We're at those vigils for that family. We're the one answering and trying to get answers for this family. And last thing, the camera will help take the pressure off the community. The community is scared to talk. Our judges are failing us. Our judges are letting these killers back on the street, and the community is scared to talk. If we had cameras up where they could see what's going on, then the community wouldn't have to talk. The cameras would do the talking for us. You know? So please, if we already got it passed, don't waive. Don't waive, because the people who are complaining don't live in it. You hearing a bunch of addresses, and I checked the addresses as they was talking. You're talking in Park Circle. You let one of them kids get hit in Park Circle, and the conversation will be flipped. There'll be petitions tomorrow to down there have cameras up there in the area. It's easy to say that when it doesn't affect you. Come walk a mile in our shoes when we getting gunshots in the morning or cars and house shot up. That's all I got to say. Please pass the cameras.
Good evening. My name is Robin Nazon, and North Charleston is my community. I am here tonight to speak as a Cajun member. I participate in the Charleston Area Justice Ministry through St. John Catholic Church, which is right here in North Charleston. I want to speak against the creation of the Joint Operations Center. Cajun represents 41 racially diverse congregations. Many of them are right here in North Charleston. There are countless people in our congregations who are impacted by the horrific gun violence that happens daily in North Charleston. Our communities are hurting. We are hurting. That is a common theme for everyone here tonight, regardless of how you feel about the proposed JOC. But the Joint Operations Center is not the answer to our pain. More surveillance is not going to do anything to stop the bloodshed from happening in our communities. There are countless case studies and statistics that prove that more police surveillance does not effectively does not work effectively against violent crimes. It certainly does not make our community safer. It certainly doesn't make me feel safer, especially when I know that communities of color are already over-policed. I fear that the proposed center will only lead to more Black people being pulled over by police, arrested, put in jail, or even killed. Yes, we need justice in our communities, but justice will only come when we build a community that is committed to root cause solutions and ensure that we have access to stable housing, strong employment opportunities, living wages, affordable health care, quality education, and other resources that allow people the opportunity to live healthy lives. Thank you for your time.
I'm Ken Harris. I live in Berkeley County in the Goose Creek zip code. I'm reading this letter on behalf of Reverend Dr. Byron Benton, a co-president of Cajun Passover Church in North Charleston. And I'm reading this as though this is Pastor Benton reading. My name is Byron Benton. I am senior pastor of Mount Moriah Missionary Baptist Church in North Charleston, and I serve as one of the co-presidents for the Charleston Area Justice Ministry, Cajun. Over the past 2 years, I have performed funeral services of 3 young men whose lives were heinously robbed due to violent crime. I have comforted and prayed with mothers, fathers, and other family members as they needlessly experience immense grief and pain. I agree with the premise that serious and creative actions must immediately be taken to curtail, discourage, and lower crime in North Charleston. Thankfully, extensive research has been conducted by a plethora of independent institutions on this subject, and these studies have provided us with proven actions and methods that, upon implementation, can make our communities safer. However, these studies also suggest that the current surveillance camera proposal will not effectively lower violent crime and may have several unintended consequences. Surveillance often gives a false sense of security without addressing core issues and is not proven to decrease violent crime. I realize that emotions are high and passions are running deep because we all want to make progress and stop the killing and senseless violence in our streets. However, if we are serious about addressing this issue, more attention and resources must be given to managing access to guns, affordable housing, education, mental health, and other holistic approaches. The reduction of crime is an incredibly complex undertaking that goes far beyond policing. My stance and our stance is that money will be used in funding proven methods of holistically addressing this matter. Sincerely, Reverend Dr. Benton. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Manigault had to go to the restroom, but she'll be in a minute. These young ladies are what we call real people, and they'll talk to you in a minute about the realness about who they are. The overall goal is to treat violence as a community health issue, not only law enforcement issue. We've got to come together. It's amazing to me that I'm African American, as you can tell. I stand on the shoulders of the NAACP, SELC, all the groups that put me on their shoulders to get me where I'm at. But one thing I think we've forgotten is that why can't we come together, work together to save lives? Why are we fighting each other? Those people out there killing us. While we arguing with each other, they walking around taking advantage of each and every one of us. So Ms. Brown and Brady, this is a survivor homicide. She want to tell you how she feel about this.
Yes, hi, my name is Ernestine Brown. My son was murdered February the 7th, 2021 on Liberty Hill. I was born and raised on Liberty Hill. Yeah, we need the cameras. Maybe if you have the cameras, you need to put the cameras up. I'm representing Racial Justice Network, and also I'm representing everyone's network. We need to have the cameras up because I don't want no mother to go through what I went through. I'm talking from 2014 up until last year. I think my son was the last one, got murdered on Liberty Hill. 8 unsolved homicides off of Liberty Hill. 8. You know how many funerals we had to go to? Your children going to bury this one, your children going to bury that one. We do need cameras in the neighborhood. We need cameras so you can see if Sue down the street being raped, or domestic violence going on down there, or like you said, a head and around a child the cameras will capture all of that. We don't need to be in front of a camera like I'm doing, pleading. Somebody come testify. Come testify for my children. Come testify for the 8. Come testify for everybody when the neighborhood, they see it, but nobody don't want to come testify. You don't have to come testify once the camera not catch it. A little whoop not shoot and kill more. You got it on film. You don't have to stand in front of no place and beg and plead. Somebody come and testify. Somebody come to court. Come hear my cry. Hear my pain. Hear my sorrow. And it's happening in broad daylight. Broad daylight. 8 unsolved murder on Liberty Hill. You need to put 100 cameras over there. Because it's not fair. You know, if whoever's saying, don't put it up until you had a child, until you had a daughter, a mother, a sister, a father, anybody get gunned down in the street like a dog, and nobody don't know what happened, or who RC don't want to come forward, that's on them. But we need cameras in our neighborhood. We need them all over the place. We need them. And Ms. Manigault, I know where she at, but, but, you know, basically, that's why I said I march, I do everything. When Breonna Taylor got killed, I was in Kentucky. We marched down there. I even marched when we had CPAD. CPAD been in the 90s when the drugs first hit. You know, all I'm asking, I can't, if they come to testify, that'll do a lot of people justice. Them cold case files now. But the cameras, y'all have solved a lot of murders. And they talk the way it worked for them. Maybe North Charleston will be the first time it worked. And maybe they'll be looking for us. They say, well, we need to go to Charleston to find out what they're doing. Because their camera system working. Their crime rate not going down 100%. Not 80%, 99.9, but 100%. Good evening. Have a nice day.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrea Manigault. I live at 6520 Dorchester Road. And a lot of you probably have heard my son's story. He was gunned down in front of A1 Grocery on November 8th of 2021. Totally innocent. My son was a good boy trying to get his business up off the ground, and he was gunned down by people that didn't even know him. I just want to say, and I get what everybody's saying about not wanting the cameras, but if it had not been for that surveillance, there's a good chance I would have been still here wondering what happened to my boy. The cameras, the surveillance, pretty much told the whole story. I pretty much knew what happened to my child within the first 48 hours, literally. And I cannot thank North Charleston enough. I know it's not going to be a perfect fix, and it's going to be some, hurdles, and it's not going to make everybody happy, but no solution is going to make everybody happy. But these cameras, we need them. We need them because I still have children, I still have grandchildren, I still have family members that are out here in society. And if something happens to them, I want to know what happened. Because of that camera and the surveillance, me and my family were able to get closure on what happened to my son. So until it happens to you, you're not going to totally understand. But please, just give this system a chance to see what happens and not be a naysayer straight off the jump. We got to do something. We have got to do something. We have got to try and do something. This violence is out of control, and we cannot expect law enforcement and the mayor and people who are in government to fix it all for us when we're not trying to fix it for ourselves. It's trial and error. So please, like I said, I understand the ones that do not want the cameras, but you're looking at a mom right here that's glad that there was a camera.
The two mothers here, Ms. Manigault's son was killed at A1 on Ranger Drive. You look, she's telling you the truth. The camera is in real time. It takes the person who committed the crime, we saw them before they even did the shooting. Before they even got there. Then we saw when they took this young man's life and it wasn't even the intended target. That's an example. Second example is Miss Ernestine Brown. If her son, if we had a camera there at that area, that we have already had violence in that same spot, if we had a camera there, we would have been able to see that as well and give her closure. And guess what? She would tell you about 5 or 6 guys were in the yard and saw the homicide. So this, like you said, this would kill that stop snitching. That would kill it. We're trying to get rid of it, but that right there would do it. But I just want to say to y'all that I understand what everybody's saying. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Bill of Rights. But I know one thing. It's not going to change until we, as a people, come together and realize that we've got to step up and do what we need to do. God bless you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to take a few minutes. Sometimes, the general public speaks to us as if, we haven't walked in these shoes or like we haven't experienced any of these things. I'm from 3 interdependent communities, Union Heights, Howard Heights, and the Windsor community. And about 4 years ago, my nephew, DJ Fulton, was murdered in broad daylight on Hackerman Avenue. We still have yet to find who killed him. Chief Burgess His nephew was a good friend of mine, Reese. Reese was murdered in his yard in the same neighborhood off of Boxwood Avenue, I believe, is it Boxwood or was it Hackerman Avenue? Riverview Avenue. Unsolved murder. We're not saying that this is the complete answer to all of the problems. What we're saying is this, in addition to the education, the mentoring programs, and everything else we have, it's a collective effort. We're not trying to infringe on your privacy, because if you've studied where they're trying to put these cameras at, it's going to be in the major thoroughfares or the areas of target where crime actually happens. Now, I heard the young man say about being pulled over. You're also looking at a young man that grew up in these areas, so can you imagine the amount of times I've been pulled over? I had a Cadillac Eldorado with white Vogue tires. I couldn't even get to church on time from being pulled over because people assumed I was a drug dealer. I was in front of my church, 7190 Cross County Road, one night, I'm a musician, putting my keyboard equipment in the church at night, while North Charleston Police Department pulls in the parking lot and asks me, was I stealing air conditioning units? You're not talking to somebody who has not experienced what you've experienced. But even with everything that I've experienced, I know we need some more concrete, practical solutions to deal with these issues. No, I don't want people following me everywhere I go. No, I don't want to be pulled over everywhere I go. But I do know that if we do not have cameras in some of these areas, these mothers deserve to have some type of peace when their children are murdered. We're not going to find that peace with my nephew. His mother has already resolved that. It's already 4 years later, and if we hadn't found out who killed him, and he was 20 years old in his grandmother's yard, he didn't deserve to be murdered right there. These cameras are going to help. No, they're not going to stop somebody from shooting. No, they don't. No, they won't. But what they will do is hold people accountable, because when people get away with things, it's like children. They continue to do it. So I totally respect where you guys are coming from, but like I said, you're not talking to somebody who's just elected. I grew up in North Charleston. I went to Normandy too when it was like Eastside High. I went to Chicago. All of these failing schools y'all talking about, I'm a product of everything y'all talking about. All right? So I'm just letting you guys know we are trying to do something more than we're already doing. And it's not the complete answer, but it's a step in the right direction.
I was just going to footnote it, Mr. Mayor. The camera system, we've been working on this for more than a year, and I remember, and we get, this is a point that really needs to be made. Our whole attention to this started with asking questions about privacy. It's not like you've introduced that issue to us. It was the first question. Ms. Jamison, Rhonda, we were all on a field trip with our police chief and his team to Charlotte to see one of these real-time crime centers in action. The first question was, is this violating any privacy issues? Some of us came back and got down into the weeds and read case study after case study after case study. The RAND Institute, Brookings Institute, the Reynolds School of Journalism has got a really great summary. Privacy is a concern, and this will be monitored. I give our police department a lot of credit right now because they're looking for ways to get criminals off the street. Concomitantly, meaning at the same time, they're also coming to us with initiatives that embrace groups in these neighborhoods. That's what we were talking about earlier, about how we're going to help fund some of these things. So this is a pivotal moment, and I give our police department a lot of credit for understanding that this is an equation that we all have to support. Chief and your team, thank you, sir.
Well, I'm going to say this. We had a series of meetings pertaining to these cameras. Last year, the chamber was open. Anybody could come. Just like the church, the doors was always open. Half of y'all tonight I never seen before. Now tonight, y'all come in here want to tear the police department down. And those men on side the wall, they work hard. They work hard. Think about how much homicides we got. The detectives overwork. Chief Hagen's sitting on the wall, his men overwork. And I just want you to take the time out and think for 30 seconds. What would we do without them? But it's easy to come in here and tear them apart, right? How you think they feel tonight? Because you came in here tonight for blood. For blood. Now they got to go back to their families. It's streamed live, everybody looking. You don't want them to do their job. But I think everybody in here agree on one thing. We got a crime problem. I hadn't heard one person come to the podium say we didn't have a crime problem. Not one person. Just think about this. I think it was the chief said it. Why we can't work together? We can't work together. I ain't seen none of y'all come to any of the town hall meetings. Brunson and them went. And then all the guidelines for the cameras is on the website. So, oh, it ain't gonna be purged. They listed every single thing on the website on how this system gonna work. Nothing hidden. But I can promise you one thing. If something happened, who the first person you call? Them. Sometimes just think about what you're getting ready to do. Because tonight, you set them on fire. Think about how they got to go home and feel. You ever thought about that? They human too. And all they're doing is they're doing their job. And this is sad because you huddle up, you send us nasty emails, nasty phone calls. And that's right, every last one of us is up for the re-election next year. Send us home. You don't like the job we're doing? Send us home. That's right. And we, this body here is not going to be weak knee and teary eye and we're not doing knee-jerk reaction stuff here. We support that camera system, the operations center. We support it 110%. And thank this body, thank this council for doing the right thing. Because guess what? Not one vote passed. We voted, guess what? Unanimous. Y'all have a good night.